Hey everybody, Pastor Jason here on Turn It Around Thursday. And I'm telling you, if I've ever said it before and if I've ever believed it before, I believe it in this moment, that this is a day of turnaround in people's lives. This, my God, is a week of turnaround in people's lives. This is a turnaround in your marriage. This is a turnaround in your family. This is a turnaround in your health. This is a turnaround in your mind. This is a turnaround in your body. This is a turnaround in your spirit. You have been going one way, but my God is about to turn it around for you. I'm believing for it. I'm expecting a miracle for you today. And I thank you for joining us today on this Turn It Around Thursday. This entire week we have been talking about healing. As a matter of fact, the Spirit of the Lord began to deal with us as we began to film these devotionals. There was a shift that happened, a shift that upset that upset even inside this staff, and said we need to go into prayer. We need to believe for and intercede because God is doing something powerful. And there was a breakthrough that happened as people began to intercede. And so we even shifted how we're doing it. Right now, as you listen to me off camera, there is a staff member who is interceding on your behalf and believing for you, who is believing for the miracle that's happening in your life and the turnaround that is occurring. So if you will, I would love for you to join me in the book of Luke chapter 8. In the book of Luke chapter 8, we're going to begin reading in verse 40. And it says, "So it was that when Jesus returned, that the multitude welcomed him, for they were all waiting for him." That's a word from the Lord for somebody. That you have been waiting on the Lord. Today is the end of your wait. The Spirit of the Lord has already walked in to your situation, and you're feeling him right now. And as the word of the Lord goes out, it's the word of the Lord that's going to bring healing to your life. My God, my God. Verse 41, "And behold, there became a man named Jairus, and he was a ruler of the synagogue. And he fell down at Jesus' feet and begged him to come to his house. For he had an only daughter, about 12 years of age, and she was dying. But as Jesus went, the multitudes thronged him. Now a woman, having a flow of blood for 12 years, who had spent all of her livelihood on physicians and could not be healed by any, came from behind and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her flow of blood stopped. And Jesus said, 'Who touched me?' When all denied it, Peter and those with him said, 'Master, the multitudes throng and press you, and you say, Who touched me?' But Jesus said, 'Somebody touched me, for I perceived power going out from me.' Now when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling, falling down before him, and she declared to him in the presence of all the people the reason she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately. And he said to her, 'Daughter, be of good cheer. Your faith has made you well. Go in peace.'" Now, I want to stop right there. We're going to continue reading on in there because there is a second instance of the Lord healing this young girl who was, a matter of fact, the original intention of his purpose that day. But along the way, as Jesus is purposed to go do a thing, along the way, this young lady, or this lady who, an older lady, was in the crowd, and this is what she had been dealing with. For 12 years, she had a constant flow of blood from her body. As a matter of fact, we'll say it like this. For 12 years, this lady dealt with having a constant cycle. For you ladies, you understand now what this lady has been dealing with. The implications that come with all of this, not just in your health. I understand all of the things that occur in your health when you are dealing with having this constant issue that is particular and significant to the female physiology. But something even more powerful happens in this instance, because if at this time the people were living according to the law, and Leviticus chapter 15 is very clear on what they call the law of bodily emissions. And one of the things that occurred is that when a lady was within the time of her cycle, or when any person was bleeding, but particularly a lady who was at the time of her cycle, everything that the lady touched became unclean. Everything she sat on became unclean. Every person that she reached out and put her hand on, that person became unclean. As a matter of fact, this is what it would do to the person. When they were touched by the person who had the flow of blood or the issue of blood coming out of their body, then that person had to wash their clothes, bathe in water, and they were unclean until the evening, which means that they could conduct no business, that they could not interact with anybody. They had to sit tight and wait. After having cleaned themselves on the outside, they had to sit tight and wait until the sun had set. The day of business was done. The time of fellowship was done, before they could call themselves clean again and to start interacting and moving among people. You understand now what her fear was in not saying to Jesus right away and coming to him very secretly. As a matter of fact, this is what she said in another one of the Gospels. She said, reasoned within herself, for if I can only touch the border of his garment, I know I will be made whole. So this lady reaches out and takes a chance on what she believes, takes a chance that she's not going to be ridiculed, takes a chance that she's not going to be chastised or castigated, takes a chance that the people are not going to look at Jesus and say, how are you going to allow this to happen to you? This is the kind of nonsense that goes on when you come around Jesus, that people just assume that they can defile the law and break the law. But this lady who refused to be crowded out, this lady who refused to let culture dictate what she was going to do, reached out and touched Jesus, and her faith. This is what Jesus said. It wasn't the fact that you touched me made me well. Your faith drew power from me. I'm telling you today that faith, a faith that is rising up inside of you, is about to draw power out of Jesus. It's about to draw power out of Jesus. It's about to bring a change into your life. You're going to reach out and you're going to grab Jesus, and you're going to do it in a way that you never have. And your faith will make you well. Now I want you to see what happens as we press on. Verse 49 says, while he was still speaking, someone came from the ruler of the synagogue's house, saying to him, your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher. But when Jesus heard it, he answered him, saying, do not be afraid. Only believe, and she will be made well. When it came to the house, he permitted no one to go in except Peter, James, and John, the father and the mother of the girl. Now all wept and mourned for her, but he said, do not weep. She is not dead, but sleeping. Watch this. Watch what they did to Jesus. And they ridiculed him, knowing that she was dead. But he put them all outside, took her by the hand, and called, saying, little girl, arise. Then immediately her spirit returned, and she arose immediately, and he commanded that she be given something to eat. And her parents were astonished, but he charged them all to tell no one what had happened. So Jesus' original intention, as he was going to minister to this girl, somebody comes and says, don't trouble Jesus anymore. It's too late. It's too late for Jesus. She's dead. And Jesus looks over at the synagogue ruler, and he says to him, the man Jairus, he says to him, listen, if you'll just believe, your daughter will be made well. Now, when Jesus gets to the house, this is what he finds. He finds ridicule and unbelief. And Jesus pushes all ridicule and unbelief out the door. This is what I'm telling you today. You have to hang on to faith, and you have to shut the door on doubt. Hang on to faith and shut the door on doubt. See, this is what the Spirit of the Lord spoke to me as I was preparing for this very specific one. I was in the other room and I was getting ready. And the Spirit of the Lord spoke to me, and this is what he said to me. He said, Jason, one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to wake up dead reproductive systems. I'm going to wake up dead wombs. I'm going to wake up dead situations, and people who have been struggling to have children for years, you tell them that by this time next year, they will present their baby before God in they'll present their baby before God in dedication. My God, my God. I'm telling you that there is a faith that is stirring up. Right when my wife and I came to this church, I remember a man and a woman standing up on the stage as our pastor interviewed them, and they testified as to what had occurred in a revival. They had been struggling for years and years to try to have children, and had gone through medical procedures and spent many, many thousands of dollars. And the only thing that it did was it made their sense of hope dwindle to about nothing. But one day they held on to a hope. They believed God. They went and took care of the things that they needed to take care of. And that couple stood before us with their child in their arms. I'm telling you, by faith today, God is bringing healing to families. He's bringing healing to families. So here's the other part. Dad, you have written off your child for dead because of the things that they have going on in their lives. People have just said, listen, you have to let them go. You have to let them go. They're in a lifestyle that they're not going to be set free from. If they could have been set free, they'd have been set free a long time ago. As a matter of fact, Dad, this is what somebody said to you. It's going to take a miracle from God for that child to come back. Dad, believe for that miracle. Your child is coming back home. God, this is what the Spirit of the Lord is saying to me today, that He is bringing healing. He is bringing healing to women. He is bringing healing to reproductive situations. And He is bringing healing to families. I testified earlier this week, I think it was on Take It Back Tuesday, about how my marriage was basically almost lost, and how God brought it back from the brink. And I testified also how the Lord has allowed my wife and I to be able to minister to a multitude of people. I had a friend of mine who himself is a minister, and he and his wife had been struggling in their marriage for a very long time, and I had been talking to him about things that he needed to do, and he was very hesitant to do those things. As a matter of fact, the fear of confronting things inside of himself kept him from doing that. But all of a sudden, in a day, he lost his entire family. In a day, he and his wife separated. I went and visited him in probably the saddest apartment that I've ever been in my life. It was a very, very low rent, 1-bedroom apartment. And I sat there in this apartment, and I looked over at my friend as I sat on the end of his bed, and he sat in the one chair that he had. And I sat there while my friend wept and wept and wept and said, Jay, it looks like it's all over for me. But I watched as that man of God put himself through a process of healing, put himself through a process of restoration, put himself through a process of tearing down strongholds. I remember going through all of these things with him, and he did them obviously with the hopes that his marriage was coming back, but understanding that it probably wasn't. At the time, he and his wife had signed divorce papers, and the only thing that was left was to wait for a 30-day period for that divorce to be completely sealed by the court. She was the one who had brought the petition against him for divorce. And I remember one day as she came to me and she asked me to if I had a few minutes to come and talk with her. And I remember sitting in a room with her for 2 hours as she sorted through some things and worked through. They had gone through counseling, and counseling, sadly for them, had done nothing. They had done so many things, and she had given up on it. She'd given up on the marriage, but she felt like there was one shred left. And so she reached out and she grabbed the hem of Jesus' garment. I get so emotional when I think about it, because I remember the moment that she looked at me and she goes, okay, I'm going to give it a try. That friend of mine and his wife, they are still married. As a matter of fact, God blessed them, and they have 2 more children. They are working in ministry and doing better than they have ever done in their lives. Their marriage is as strong as any marriage I've ever seen. They are a blessed people. And it's because each of them, just like Jairus, he chose to believe. He chose to believe that Jesus could bring a dead situation back to life. And just like the woman with the issue of blood, she chose to believe that if she reached out and grabbed Jesus, that power would enter in. And this is what I'm telling you today, that if you will submit this, I know that hope is just about drained out of your life, but he didn't say that it takes faith the size of a mountain to move a mustard seed. He said it takes faith the size of a mustard seed to move a mountain. And I'm telling you that while you've been hearing me speaking, faith has been rising back up inside of you. And if you'll reach out now and you'll grasp it, God is going to bring a turnaround. Dad, if you'll pick up the phone and you'll call that daughter, if you'll pick up the phone and you'll call that son, God is going to restore the relationship with them. Wife, if you'll tear up those divorce papers and you'll reconcile with your husband, God's going to heal your marriage in a way that you never dreamed that he could. I know you've already stepped out on your marriage, and I know that you've already felt like the thing is defiled and it can't come back, but I'm telling you that God is bringing your family back. Husband and wife, you who have received the promise from God that you're going to have children, I'm telling you, you are going to have children. You just reach out and believe. You just trust that a dead thing's about to come back to life again, and God, this time next year, you will stand before God and dedicate your child to God. God is healing women today. Ma'am, you who are struggling right now, this is what the Spirit of the Lord spoke to me. I've heard the phrase before, but I don't know what it is. But the Spirit of the Lord told me that there are ladies out there. There's a specific lady right now, but there are ladies out there. You have something called endometriosis. I don't know what it is, but I know that it's very painful. This is what the Spirit of the Lord spoke to me. It's very painful. God says, lay your hand on yourself right now, and you declare the word of God. You speak Jesus. Oh, rubo shata keka sata rabaka. You speak Jesus over your body. As a matter of fact, the Spirit of the Lord is going to come on you. You're going to begin to intercede in the Spirit, and that endometriosis is going to be healed. The pain will go away. My God. My God. Ko ramashete. So rabakashakata. Ko ramashata rabasekete. There is a lady. I know who you are. You know who you are. You have been struggling in your body with your cycles. And your cycles have been so out of whack that it has caused an iron deficiency in your body. You are driving right now. The Spirit of the Lord says, lower the window on your vehicle and tell that infirmity, that spirit of infirmity, to get out of your car and get out of your life. And God says it's going to fall by the wayside, and you are, oh my God, you are released from that spirit of infirmity in your body. My God. My God. Father, thank you that you are healing homes, that you're healing marriages, that you're healing families, that you are healing reproductive systems. Thank you that you are healing ladies. Thank you for it, God. Father, right now we stand in faith, believing so much that we thank you for miracles that we haven't even seen yet. We give you glory for them in Jesus' name. I thank you today for joining us on this Turning Around Thursday. If you haven't had a chance to listen to any of these devotionals, I encourage you to go back and listen to all of the ones from this week. God is bringing healing in people's lives. And do not miss tomorrow. God is going to do something radical during the devotions tomorrow. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for tuning in to the Abundant Life Devotional Series. These devotions are available across many platforms, including our Abundant Life Revival Network YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at WeAreALRC for this and other great content. If you are in the South Atlanta area or the North Macon and Forsyth areas, we would love for you to come visit one of our campuses. You can find all the information you need at AbundantLifeChurch.com. My name is Jennifer. I am Overflow, and I am Abundant Life Church.